You're about to enter a good news zone. Values in Action is next. Welcome to Values in Action, a show about how leaders do good in our community. Today's program deals with the question of whether an entrepreneur can achieve success by practicing ethical values. Joining us are Chuck Fowler, CEO of Fairmont Minerals, David Kruger, the Corporate Ethics Chair at Baldwin-Wallace College, and Roger Salant, Executive Director of the Fowler Center for Sustainable Value at Case Western Reserve. We'll be right back. Welcome to Values in Action. I'm here with my co-host Ratanjit Sande and with Chuck Fowler, the CEO of Fairmont Minerals, and David Kruger, the Chair of Sustainable Business Practice at Baldwin-Wallace College. Thank you all for being here. David, I want to address the first question to you. We've seen the movie Social Network. We know that there are individuals who in their climb to success just walk all over everyone. And that is the image that a lot of people have about American business. Is that true?
Well, it's certainly true that there are lots of individuals who act like that. Some of them get away with it, and some of them leave fairly horrible reputations in their wake. But certainly I want to believe that the vast majority of managers in business and entrepreneurs are good people. They model the right kinds of virtues that engender trust, and they build relationships that are important to a business.
Chuck, you run a very successful business in Northeast Ohio and a worldwide business. You have not taken that path of stepping over everyone in your path. Can you tell us how it's possible that someone who maybe was raised the right way can fall into that kind of syndrome?
Well, I think that they define success differently than what the rest of us would and the rest of us would like to. And power, I mean, we've seen it whether it's in business or whether it's in country building or whether, I mean, history is just full of power-struck or power-hungry people and leaders of some fashion and sort. But when you talk about specifically about business, we look at success in business as being able to not only live our values, but also pass on to our customers and our other stakeholders those same values. I think probably the other one, the counter to the money is happiness.
Your definition of success is more a contentment, happiness, in addition to money or in absence of money?
Well, the old saying is that money can't buy love, but it certainly goes a long way. So, you can't, I don't think you can look at the two in a vacuum.
Right. And that's a real success, which comprises your true happiness. And now, if somebody achieves success only on the end result basis, which is money basis,
right?
So that path generally is highly stress-filled. They reach there with the open heart surgery, even with all kinds of stress and enemies all around them. We can't really call that success, can we?
Well, not in my definition.
Yes.
I mean, I think that very, very equal with with money, fame, all those things is happiness.
Let's say that you're an individual who runs a hospital, or you're an individual who runs a Facebook, and you say to yourself, you know what, unto itself, it's doing good in the world. It's uniting people, or it's healing people. I don't need to be a nice guy because my product is being the nice guy. Do you see people like that?
I do, but I think, this raises the larger question of what is the purpose of a business.
Yes.
You can have a very narrow-minded focus. It is to make as much money perhaps in the short term for shareholders. But I think there are lots of folk out there who take a much broader view and say the purpose of a business certainly is to generate a good return for shareholders, but it is to be mindful of the communities in which we live. It is to care for the earth. It is to nurture and grow our employees. It is to be honest to our customers and honor the commitments we make to them. So, you know, you begin to get this very broad view of interests and values, and when it all comes together in a good way, which it does for your company, it's a beautiful thing to behold.
Now, David, in the college environment, the university environment, when we teach students, bring about MBAs, can we really teach ethics?
Well, that's a good question. You know, Harvard Business School gets harangued all the time because you see some of their best graduates creating or contributing to lots of the problems that society exhibits. So I'm heartened by examples like the new MBA Oath, which is a project generated by students at Harvard to say, you know, there are some broad principles that we're going to try to ascribe to in our careers. We're going to be mindful of the society in which we live. We're going to try to create long-term value for the larger society. Those are aspirations, sometimes very difficult to, you know, to live up to, but I'm heartened by those efforts by graduate students.
But there is no consequence of if somebody is in the business world and they have achieved financial success at any cost, if they have not practiced ethics unless it's legally unethical.
If people keep on buying their product, there really is no consequence. You know, if you look at the example of the story that's portrayed in the social network, Facebook, they're becoming super successful. People are buying their product all over the world. So,
that's right. But we take our reputations with us, and I think we can sleep easier at night when we know that the people around us respect us and speak well of us. I'm heartened by movements to try to find common values around the world. And I think hopefully we can get to that place in global business where there are principles like honesty, transparency, the rule of law, care for the society around us. I would weave those into my sense for what ethics in business are.
David, I want to thank you for your perspective and for joining us. And in a moment, we're going to get another perspective from Roger Salant, the director and chair of the Fowler Center for Sustainable Value at Case Western Reserve. Back in a moment. Welcome back to Values in Action. We're here in this segment once again with Chuck Fowler, the CEO of Fairmont Minerals, and with Roger Salant, who is the chair of the Fowler Center for Sustainable Value at Case Western Reserve University.
Roger, is this model of end justifying the mean, success at any cost, sustainable in the long-term basis?
Well, the end justifying the mean, in my mind, doesn't mean success at all in terms of how we have to operate. We have to be very, very conscious of how we practice and how we live our lives and the way we create health around us. So in my view, it would be better to not succeed at the end, but to live in a way that creates health around you than to try to justify success with great damage.
You know, at universities, all our curriculum basically produce a highly educated technician or highly motivated manager. We don't really produce leaders, do we?
Well, there's a question of, do we nurture to create leaders? Are they born? My belief is that it's a combination of both, but we need to draw out the elements. Good leadership to me is that people are value-driven, they're very centered as human beings, and people want to follow them because they feel that that's a growthful place for them to be, because they can learn how to live their own lives. And I don't know how you teach that completely.
Well, Chuck, you know, you are a great leader in our community. My thought about leadership is that you don't lead anyone. You really lead yourself. It is through your self-leading that you lead people. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I don't think it's the entirety of it. I think there are some skill sets that are required to help a leader lead, and certainly focused on the values and have the right values that can be transcended into another group that will be happy to follow along.
But
But
isn't
they,
it
they really
ultimate?
don't want to lead and follow. That's a, to me,
Wrong,
a
wrong.
successful, value-driven business, a sustainable business is not a lead follow.
So in other words, what you're saying, it sounds like what both of you are saying is that a successful business, by definition, is a sustainable business. So that means sustaining the relationships, sustaining, obviously, prosperity or profitability, sustaining employees with their hopes and dreams. Is there anything more that you can add to that?
Well, I think you also have to sustain your place in the planet, and your place in the environment, and your place with the community. And all of those pieces come together to really define what sustainability is. And one leader is not a sustainable business make. You have to be able to have additional leaders that are coming along to, in fact, meet the definition of sustainability. And many of them in there.
Yeah, how many businesses have you seen, Roger, where they buy into this sustainability movement, and then they come to you or they come to Chuck, and they're very, very proud, and they say, boy, we have this new green policy. That's our sustainability movement.
Are you saying that they're greenwashing, or do you mean
Well,
that?
what I'm saying is that maybe that becomes an excuse. You know, they feel that they're sustainable because they're green, but maybe they're not treating their people the right way.
A business lacking values isn't a sustainable business. It isn't a green business. It's not a healthy business. So you have to have a really good human system that is healthy in order to be successful and sustainable.
Roger, is it possible for a business leader to know when they're doing the right thing and leading in the right way?
Well, my belief is it's a lot like being on a balance beam. You really know when you're out of balance. Your internal gyroscope, as I was saying before, kind of lights up when you're on target. And the idea of being nurtured, you get nurture from that feeling of doing the right thing. But you have to be really attuned to your own feelings and sensitivities to know when you're in balance or out of balance.
But if somebody is not an attuned person and they don't have the culture in that company that is leaning them in that direction, how do they know? Is it possible for them to just go totally out of whack?
They can, and they need to become more centered in order to know, and maybe that's one reason why they leave, because they can't orient themselves.
Roger, I want to thank you for being on the show. We're going to take a break now, and when we get back, we're going to be talking to Chuck Fowler about what is the idea of a product or a company that has sustainable value. We'll be back in a moment.